All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who's got a big fight going at Unified MMA 41, the heavyweight championship up for grabs. We have Christian Larsen and Grayson Wells getting out there and welcoming Grayson onto the show. How's the training and everything going in the lead up to this one here, man?
Training's going good, man. Training's going good. There's always some ups and downs and a little bit of bumps and scrapes, but nothing too serious so far, thankfully. So, yeah, man, I've been preparing for this one for quite a long time now, to be honest.
Yeah, and that was one of the first things I was going to ask about there because, I mean, super close proximity. The Larsen fight was canceled, too. I felt bummed that, so many of the people had that happen to them with the Unified card at the time. Obviously, coronavirus at the time, March 2020, leading to the cancellation. So, this guy's been on the radar for quite a while. Is there going to be a level of relief getting out there and finally, competing and kind of putting it in the rear view in a certain sense?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, Christian and I were slated to fight, a few times, even other than last year. So it's been kind of a long time coming. But it worked out. It worked out for me. I guess I could say, it did get canceled the weekend before, but that gave me some time to put on a little bit of size because I know that was one of my downfalls that he had against me would be the size difference, right? I mean, the guy's huge. He's a monster, one of the biggest guys I've ever seen in real life, to be honest. And so I was a relatively small heavyweight, coming in at just under 230, 235. I fought a couple times. So I spent that whole, I don't know how long it's been now, a year and a half, I guess.
Yeah.
Year and a half, and I just was in the gym and I knew that we were going to fight again one day. And so I tried my hardest just to close the gap. There wasn't any fight training going on, so I had my own personal gym. So I just focused on putting on weight, and I got up to 260. So I closed the gap quite a bit, but now I'm down to about 10 pounds. So I definitely feel the disadvantage that I was at previously, I've kind of made up for it.
That's an awesome kind of improvement to make during the pandemic. There's a thoughtful kind of amendment with nothing going on at the time, a lot of restrictions and stuff like that. But what specifically did you do to put on that size in terms of the strength and conditioning kind of routine in conjunction with possible dietary amendments? What went on to all of that there?
It was just straight gym and straight weights. I took a strength training program years ago in Montreal. So I just used the fact that I wasn't doing any martial arts training. I wasn't doing any jiu-jitsu. I wasn't doing any wrestling. And I'm not huge on the treadmill. So I was basically just in the gym, just pumping weights and eating a massive amount of food. So, that was just my main goal is to get up, put as much weight on as I can just through lifting weights, and then come back down to where I need to be come fight time.
Yeah, for sure. And it looked like there was a photo going around a couple days ago of you with Coulter Gill, and it also looked like, per some old photos, you were getting in some Toshido MMA work there. Where are you putting in the work ahead of this particular fight here, though?
I'm kind of at a few different places. I'm still training with Coulter at Mamba MMA, but I've also incorporated the coaching of Dan Golkar from Scorpion MMA in Pitt Meadows.
Oh, yeah.
So he's been working with me, live, super talented coach, and he's been working with me on my hands for the last, for a while now, for the last year. And, there's a couple other places I go to, Bridge Street Boxing, and, I've been to Toshido, so I'm kind of all over the place, just trying to pick the best I can from each place, It's hard to find guys to match up in size-wise as Christian. So I got to go where I can get somebody even close, right? Which is hard to find.
Yeah, pretty much just scouring the country for the different, heavyweight bodies and stuff like that, I imagine, is part of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I found a couple guys that were similar in height, not quite as heavy, but close enough. I mean, a large body is a large body, right? So my game plan my game plan hasn't changed in the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to implementing what I've been thinking about nonstop for the last couple of years.
And I was going to say, you guys very much have the proven track records. Neither of you guys go into a decision across a combined 15 bouts. You've got the 5 wins, 100% finishing rate, all via strikes throughout there. So yeah, I mean, definitely you guys know how to bring it there. I feel like that's not the fight to get up and go grab a beer or go grab a snack kind of thing.
Yeah, man. They slate the title fights for 5 rounds, but I mean, the odds of that happening are pretty low.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel, however, that the longer the fight goes on, the more advantageous it is for myself. Just being, the guy that walks around at 300 pounds can't have the best cardio. I mean, that hasn't been tested. None of the fights that I've seen, and on his record, he just doesn't go past the first round ever. I don't think he ever has.
Yeah, I think maybe his Lee fight might have been second round, but yeah, I mean, like most of the fights, he's just like, yeah, in there, out there pretty quick.
Yeah, which makes for an exciting fight. That's kind of how I like to fight too, and I think it'll be a good show for the fans, and like you said, not one to sleep on for sure.
And I'm curious because I was reading an article from MMA Empire. Obviously, you're a former Havoc FC champion, vying for some Unified MMA gold here. And in that Empire article, it was kind of saying that when you lost the Havoc title, a lot going on in your life at the time, and there was a bit of a redemptive component to that title bid. Is that still the same kind of mindset leading into this one, or has like the, I guess, focus kind of changed just with like the pandemic and some other kind of facets, or is it still that strong feeling of redemption that would come with the title win too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, just the fact of my own personally, right, to come back from losing a title, and I, like you said, I had some personal things going on, and I lost some other things in my life, lost some people, lost relationships, lost houses, just kind of like a losing streak all around, and to come back and climb back out of the gutter and get back to the top, it really means a lot to me to do that. So, and it's, something that I've been focusing on for a long time. And I believe that, regaining a championship will carry over to the rest of my life. So it's extremely important to me.
Yeah, and this one being on UFC Fight Pass, I think that's a good look too. Like, I talk to certain fighters, and the platform it's on can be a certain, focus point, something to maybe galvanize the, motivation even a little bit more. Some people, it's kind of an inconsequential sort of facet, like, oh, that's okay, I guess, but just solely focused on what goes on in the cage. Like, where are you at with this one being on UFC Fight Pass?
Oh, man, I love it. Like I consider myself an entertainer. I've always have. I like to put on exciting fights, and I'm trying to break into the movie business and do some stunts as well now. And so the larger platform I can get on, the better. And this will be the first time that one of my fights is really being shown globally. Like, I've had friends in other parts of the world tune in to whatever the stream is, but like, this is the first time that around the world, anybody that has Fight Pass can watch this fight. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. The bigger the stage, the better.
Yeah, you talk about.
I seem to thrive when there's more eyes on me, kind of thing. Like I like the attention.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just going to say, it seems like the style of fight you enjoy kind of carries through in some different regards. Like another Empire piece that I was seeing about your favorite fight there, like Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stan. So it's like you can kind of tell that kind of like informs the style a little bit, just in the sense of like you want to really, put on that high octane kind of show.
Yeah, 100%. Since I started fighting, I've been fighting for 20-something years, right? And I've always felt that, people are coming to pay good money to watch me fight. And so, that being said, people are paying their hard-earned money. I want to put on a show. Like, I want to be remembered as win or lose. Like, oh, that guy was fucking awesome. That was a killer fight, And like, yeah, I've lost some fights, but they've all been banger fights, except for when I fought Lee Mean. He choked me out in like 30 seconds, that fucking guy.
Oh, well, Lee, that's a guy that I would not be looking to fight anytime. He just kind of looks like an anomaly almost. So, not the worst thing that can happen there in a sense.
He's huge. And you know what the thing with that fight was, is that I originally turned down the fight because I'm like, at the time he outweighed me by 35 pounds, and I knew that he's a black belt jiu-jitsu instructor and I'm still a fucking white belt. So I was originally supposed to fight Tyler King. I don't know if you know him, but he was, I think he was on Ultimate Fighter. I'm not sure. He had some fights in Risen.
Yep.
But anyway, so he backed out 2 weeks before the fight, and the only guy that would take it was Lee. So I'm like, oh shit. Well, I gotta fight. So I kind of had it in my head. I was already didn't want to fight him, and then when I showed up, because I thought I was fighting Tyler King, so I weighed in at 227, and then by the time we fought, Lee told me he was 260 or something like that. I remember looking across the cage like, oh man, this guy's huge. So you know what, man, it is what it is. If you're gonna call yourself a fighter, you can't always just fucking pick and choose and cherry pick your fight. Like you got to fight. Sometimes you got to fight guys you don't want to fight.
Yeah, it would be a pretty stark pivot that quick to the fight though there. But you had mentioned something I thought was interesting a bit ago, just in the sense of looking to get in some of the acting work and stunt work and stuff like that. I saw you were an actor in a Bucketheads film a little bit ago. Can you talk about what was going on there? Because it seemed like there was some Star Wars nods that were going on there.
Yeah, so the Bucketheads is it's an indie series that is from the Stormtroopers' perspective. I don't know if you follow Star Wars at all, but so it's kind of like a Band of Brothers type feel for it, but from the Stormtroopers' perspective. And it was my first stunt that I did on there. They cast me as a humanoid thug boss kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
And I dig it, man. I really dig it. So it's like, I can't fight forever, right? Hopefully I got a few fights left in me, but I would like to transition into something. And I've been a professional fighter for a long time in my life. So there's not really too many jobs that excite me, So, lighting myself on fire, getting shot and jumping off buildings seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's awesome, though. I mean, you talk about some of the different endeavors you've gotten in combat-wise and the different disciplines. I was seeing some past Muay Thai and boxing experiences. The goal going forward, a sole MMA kind of focus, or would there be some desire to want to also have the Muay Thai and boxing, too?
Well, it's funny you asked that, and we were just talking about Lee, is that is a fight that I would like to get back someday, but I feel I would like to challenge Lee to Muay Thai rules with MMA gloves. Because let's face it, right? The guy's a black belt jiu-jitsu, and my jiu-jitsu is not really that strong. So him getting a hold of me, I don't really have a fucking chance, right? So if we could do a full Muay Thai rules with MMA gloves, I think they do that one, don't they?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it seems like that's a one championship kind of thing that you'd be looking to do there.
Yeah, so I don't know, an old school fight, like a kickboxing fight, but with MMA gloves and full Muay Thai rules. You never know. That is something that I would like to get back. And who knows if once I get this title, the Unified title, so the Havoc title that I lost to Dustin Johnson, I believe he is now fighting for one championship.
He is, yeah.
So, if I could maybe get that one back as well, you know how it is, right? You lose fights and they're close ones, and that fight with Dustin Johnson, I took an illegal headbutt, and I could have, the ref kind of was leading to the point where if I couldn't continue, I would win the fight, but I'm not a pussy like that, right? So if we're fucking headbutting, whatever, it's a fight. We're not baking cupcakes. So I continued, and I probably shouldn't have, but in hindsight, whatever, man, we're fighting, right? So I believe that I could have won that fight, and I also believe that I could beat Lee, and not necessarily maybe in an MMA fight, because if he gets a hold of me, I'm kind of screwed. But those are two fights that I wouldn't mind getting back. But can't look too far ahead off this one, because Christian is he is a scary guy, man. He's not the most technical guy, but he does have that club you to death factor.
Yeah, I was gonna say he looks like the archetype of a Viking that you'd expect to see in a movie almost. It's oh damn, that guy.
And it's funny because when I was fighting Lee, for Unified. Christian was in the same corner. We're like, I don't know if it was blue corner or whatever, but we're in the same corner, and that was when he was fighting for the title against Jared Kilkenny. And I just remember, warming up, and I remember Christian sitting in the chair, and the way he was watching me like somebody that was going to fight me one day. So, it's interesting, the story that we have, like as I get older, I want to have fights that have a little bit of story behind them, like the Devin Neese trilogy, right? Like trilogy fights are awesome. They don't happen all the time, but I like a little bit of story behind things, and this fight with Christian definitely has a little bit of story to it. So some history, anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say the backstage note of him kind of almost like sizing you up. I feel like that's a great point to almost kind of end things off on. Like, I don't know what would be a better point to kind of end off on there. Just a fight I was excited for prior to talking to you, but definitely compounded more with the chat here. But I'm curious if there's maybe anything you'd like to sort of add kind of as a parting thought as we're wrapping things up here, Grayson. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, of course, man. No, it's awesome. I'm just, I appreciate the time talking to me, and I appreciate having this chance to fight for the title, and I appreciate Christian giving me a chance. And like, one thing that I will say about Christian is that, out of our back and forth over the years, he's always been a respectful guy, which you don't really see a lot of in MMA anymore. It's kind of like the old kind of tough guys, the OGs of the sport, where you're not out there trash talking and shit. You're just like myself. I respect anybody I've ever fought. I don't need to trash talk to put eyes on me, because my fight does it for itself. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope I put on a good show for everyone.
Well, I was going to say, unless you have like a total outlier performance from prior fights I've seen, I'm thinking it'll probably be fight of the night, even potentially. So Christian Larsen, Grayson Wells, we get that Unified MMA heavyweight title in the middle, and people can check that out at Unified MMA 41 on September the 24th. UFC Fight Pass, but also River Cree Resort and Casino. You can check that out if you're in the surrounding Edmonton, Alberta area. And yeah, just really appreciate getting some insights from you, Grayson. Really looking forward to the fight here, and you just have a good rest of your day too, man.